Yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Logue, 5241 Terrace Ridge Drive. To address the comments you brought up, the Clermont Sun ran an article September 5th. Speaking for the trustees, when they purchase an ambulance, they don't need to get the latest and greatest. We can do very well with the one that's a demo or maybe a year old, and we save a lot of money. That might be part of the communication that you're receiving throughout the community. So just kind of stood out.
Okay. Thank you.
Very well.
Wasn't aware of that, but thank you.
Michael Logue, 5241 Terrace Ridge Drive.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. Mr. Beamer, last week there was a lot of discussion regarding the special meetings and violation of Ohio sunshine laws. You said afterwards that you would personally take action on that, and I just wanted to check and see what action has been taken.
Okay. Well, to my knowledge, there was no violation of any kind of sunshine law. As I mentioned to you, that perhaps we're a little out of practice because we haven't had a special meeting in quite some time, and I have alerted our staff, our Union Township staff, to do make an effort to get when and if we have another special meeting that it gets on our website in a timely manner. The requirements for a special meeting is a public notice to the media, and that was done. And we have records of that. You can come in and view that. And that was done
Right, to the Clermont.
well within the 24-hour notice. So there was no, to my knowledge, there was no
To the Clermont Sun that
violation of,
publishes on Thursday.
the sunshine law. So that is the legal requirements, to notify the media, and we notified the local media, and that is the requirement. We follow the code to the T. As I said, perhaps we're a lot out of practice. We should have had done it on our website a little sooner, and we didn't. And I've spoken to the staff about that to make that correction. And then I'll expand on the topic. You also made reference to later about no public comments. And again, following the Ohio Revised Code, as with stated meetings, only topics related to the stated purpose of the meeting can be discussed. And that, as you know, because you were there along with
Yeah.
a few others regarding easements and temporary easements and those kinds of things. And that's, we were guided by that, and we stuck to that agenda. And that's,
Correct, I
agenda we followed.
understand the purpose for that
and
to be a
that's,
special meeting.
that's what happened.
That was kind of in follow-up from the
Yeah.
Thursday was the prior regularly scheduled, so it came into light as far as there's no mention of a special meeting and what prompted that moving forward into it. But regardless of that aside, I know that there's an attempt to be made to notify the Clermont Sun. The intent of the law there as far as being, it's publicly notified, it's getting on maybe the Union Township Facebook page is something convenient, able to be accessible, not just a personal page. I know there was an attempt made by Mr. McGraw, but also to the website. And again, the intent, I know going out to the public media or going out to the Clermont Sun, 24-hour notice, I don't know when that was. Mr. McGraw had it posted at 8:45 or so p.m. and the meeting was 6 p.m. the next day. So to meet the actual intent, right? So when published paper is on Thursday, do they even have an opportunity to publish? I know that when you look around at the townships in Clermont County, Pierce Township, they've got special meeting advertised greater than several days right now. City of Milford's got special meetings advertised greater than several days. We're going to continue to lead the way and be the best. I think we should lead the way and be the best there. I mean, there's no skin off anyone's back just to be able to meet that intent and go above the bare minimum. To that point, you did make reference that you would take action moving forward with it, and you've prepped the staff now. You're out of practice with special meetings. When is the last training that you have had for Ohio sunshine laws?
Ohio sunshine laws, I don't know, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But I can tell you, we followed the law, and you mentioned intent. We did what we were supposed to do. We notified the local media. We did that, and we have a record of that within the prescribed time frame. There's no two ways. That's the bottom line. We notified the media like we've done in the past for special meetings. It's just that simple. And we're only allowed to stick to the topics on the agenda. It's the only thing we didn't do. As I said, we haven't had a special meeting in quite a while. I don't know when we haven't had a special meeting. It's been a while. We didn't get on the agenda. And I spoke to staff about it to make an effort to correct that. That's what I've said before, and I'll say it again tonight, is that was my, as I mentioned to staff, let's get on it.
So
It's just that, it's just that simple.
with local communities around the area, they at least hold to the standard that they're going to at least give greater than 24-hour public notice so that the public can see it, regardless of being published, regardless of saying you met the bare minimum of the 24-hour notice, the required media. The intent is there for the public. It's good to facilitate communication, open dialogue, and feedback from the people. That's for the people, of the people, by the people. That's who has voted you into office. So in addition to that, the Ohio Attorney General does have a great resource manual, because we talked about best practices, what's been utilized, and it was referenced that it's just what's been historically done, what's historically been done. So you can get this mailed to the House in less than a day. They're very efficient with the Ohio Attorney General's office, and this is 2019 Open Government Resource Manual for Ohio Sunshine Laws. So just to help to facilitate those type of steps, because again, speed with discipline, right? Understand the work that Union Township's trying to accomplish, but we've got to keep the community engaged. We got to keep them facilitated, have feedback, have great communication, and really set that performance level high.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad we settled it.
And honestly, when I first ran for office, one thing I brought up was where Mr. Geis alluded to almost 50,000 residents living here, and we have a lot of really bright and brilliant residents, and we want to get everybody, involved as much as possible with comments or ideas, things to help us be better and move forward, and we welcome your comments tonight. We're certainly always looking to improve. But honestly, we don't hold special meetings. All these other communities keep having these special meetings. We try to have our meetings on set dates so everybody can expect when the date and the meeting will be. And the only purpose for this meeting was there was a rush to get documents filled out so that right-of-way could be taken care of as far as some very important road projects. And we didn't want to hold up those road projects because of something that there was really no disagreement on that anybody knew of. So that's why we had the special meeting, but generally we don't have special meetings. And really, my question would be, why are all these other communities having all these special meetings? Why don't they make it part of their regular meeting too? So that's my take on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as that opened up community discussion and a lot of questions coming in, as community leaders, so I'm sure you received a lot of questions about it. It's something that was not addressed at that Thursday meeting, 3 business days prior to say there will be a special meeting. So it begs to question, was this a need for an emergency meeting perhaps? I mean, the resolution was never out there, and again, no public comment on it. No one truly knows the fundamentals of the resolution that moved forward that allowed, I'd say, that Mr. Geis was able to get the documentation in for Wednesday and Thursday. But that, again, fundamentally, the government is transparency and accountability. And that's, it's not profit center, that is profits and loss, it's deficit and surplus, and it's transparency and accountability. Accountability to the people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Michael Logue, 5241 Terrace Ridge Drive. One thing just kind of stems back. A few weeks ago, we just kind of had an opportunity to be able to take the quarter scale Eyes of Freedom Liam Company Memorial display and be able to put it on the walls at Everything Bagels. It's there through the end of the month of October. Mr. McGraw, I know that Diane referenced that you guys had talked about it and that it was something that you wanted to talk about. I didn't know if there was anything that you
Yeah,
took
we're
forward
trying
with
to, what it is, bringing the full-scale model
Yeah.
somewhere here in the township, and we'd like to meet with the local American Legion and also maybe the veterans of the Vietnam War. Maybe they would like to participate. I think if we can do that, she was supposed to get me some figures on the exact costs, so we're trying to, I think it's around
I can get
$5,000 or
that.
$6,000 maybe.
Yeah, I can get that all ran together, because, I mean, really, you know, having the ability to have that quarter scale is from personal conversations with Diane as far as the way that she wants to impact the community. And all of you already see that as far as, you know, being supporting the men and women in blue and our first responders and our military. And there's a national trend right now that has been growing really and the reason for is suicides. So the full size display has a statue, a sculpture, bronze sculpture now called Silent Battle. And Silent Battle truly is out of the fact of saving someone's life. They had a plan to kill themselves. They came upon the 8-foot by 8-foot panels of the Eyes of Freedom. So what this is and what it depicts is it's the 23 Marines with Lima Company that were killed in combat in 2005. The unit I served with also know 37 that were wounded. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart, that anywhere I'm always going to be an advocate for it. It's good for the community, and it's good for that you know, feedback, because what we have seen with that, in this case specifically, that veteran, they said, and they stayed right there next to the paintings for the next week, and they came back with the promise that they were not going to take their life. And this artist, who had never done clay work before, much like when she first did the paintings, she'd never painted before. This was her first attempt at it, and did this full-size sculpture of this Army veteran. We got a bronze and goes around the country now. The problem that is always faced is as it goes around the community, everyone comes together. There's so much outpouring of public support. It's just a fantastic thing. And you're left with, you want to see something continue to grow and manifest out of that. So it's a great way to allow to get all the facets like you're referencing, the VVA 649, the VFW, American Legion, to come out together and also partner with the community, and how partners with police and fire. Anyway, that was out there to help facilitate that discussion and be able to get it going. So I was happy to hear that it's something that caught your eye. I know Craig McKee did a spotlight on it on Channel 9 yesterday actually as well. Some of the incidents that happened yesterday, I think, also cut into the timing of that, so they had late breaking news. But yeah, I welcome the thought and support for it. Figures for the full-size display is $6,000, and that's something that, you know, fundraising, community efforts can support and get behind. But we can get additional details for that.
Yeah, if we can get all the details, I know we've brought the replica of the Vietnam Memorial to
yeah.
Union Township before, and that was a great event.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah,
Twice
and
now?
that's
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
absolutely on par and similar to that. This travels the country. You know, right now it travels the country, and a million individuals see it a year as it travels the country. So yeah, it's just something, and it's near and dear to this location. Actually, on November 23rd is the Nick Erdy Foundation. They'll be happening at the Norland Manor House, and that's a 15th year of that going on. Nick Erdy is also one of the Marines of Lima Company. So yeah, so people can't have an opportunity to get out and see it at that benefit or at that event, but I think it'd be something phenomenal to see here and see, you know, what and where it can be on display in Union Township. So I appreciate the support and the thought behind that. And, you know, it's all goes into building on that further mission of how we continue to breed American optimism, and it can really highlight some work for the men and women in blue and the fire, because there's been more of a national push to basically take lessons learned from the military and how that's applicable. So as you see suicide rates increasing on the military side, right now the Air Force has had 77 active duty members take their life this year. That's just, you know, that should never be the case. And it's not a metric that's tracked for police and fire. And it's something that I think that as best efforts that we can do to at least watch that and be involved, because no one ever wants to be on the other end of that call or the other end of that missed call. So, yeah. With that, that's what I wanted to mention on that. So,
Yeah.
if there's any additional comment, I welcome it.
Not this time.
Not at this time.
Yeah, once we pull everything together, I'll be
Investigate it.
glad to present it to our administration. I'm sure if we can get community support, I'm sure it would be something we would
Okay.
support also.
Okay,
Check it out.
great.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
Appreciate the idea.
thank you.
Have a good night.
One other question, burning question. What's the rationale behind the independent audit report?
I'm not sure what you mean.
So the rationale for not having an audit by the state of Ohio.
We've done it both ways in the past. But even with an independent auditor, they have to be okayed and certified by the
Certified
state
by the state.
to be able to perform that function. They're just much more efficient, a lot faster, and it just has worked out better for us. And when the state did it before, it was okay, but it was a long process. So it's more of an efficiency thing, but it's, they have to still certify
list
and
of
be,
auditors.
yeah, it's an approved list of outside auditors that are
Well,
used.
I think that's the thing that kind of is surprising, because the state specifically says that they've reviewed the independent auditor's report, and based upon the review, they accept the report in lieu of the audit required, and the auditor of state did not audit the accompanying financial statements, and accordingly, we are unable to express and do not express an opinion on them. I can understand what you're saying. I'm sure there's a solid answer.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr.
wanna say something, Mr.
Beamer,
Rice?
any history on it?
Mr. Geis, do you have anything to add to that, or?
It goes to the Board of Trustees, so I mean, it's,
Statutorily, Union Township, and as far as all townships in the state of Ohio, we're required to be audited biannually. And we go beyond that. We are audited annually, every year instead of biannually. So we actually increase the amount of audits that we have. The auditors that, as Mr. McGraw was stating, they're all certified by the state, and they're required to go through a certification process. And they're selected by the state, confirmed by the Board of Trustees to audit it. The reason that really we opted to do that is, one, we get a more efficient audit with that, and it's actually a more complete audit than the state of Ohio would do with the state auditors, in that they look at things annually. Their review of the reports are much more complete than they would be on a biannual, because they would use the same sorting and selection process in that. So we do that really because we get a more complete audit, a more accurate audit, and a more valid audit than we would through the state of Ohio. If we would do just the state of Ohio, they would do that biannually. So they would do it once every 2 years. So we do it every year in that, and then they do confirm that. And in the state of Ohio, the townships are not required to be GAAP certified and to do GAAP accounting in that. So we do GASB accounting, and really that's more of the review and the standard and the disclaimers that the state of Ohio, because when they come in and audit the report, they give the same disclaimer in that it's not a GAAP audit, because we don't comply with GAAP auditing in the state of Ohio.
right.
In that,
Yeah.
and because we're not required.
Right, I've read into that. So, maybe some light can be shed at some point then on the certification process. I wasn't able to track and see their certificates, the company with the state of Ohio, which I'm sure they're there. I don't know why they weren't there, but you were saying it's selected by the state of Ohio and then confirmed by the board. That sounds like a source selection or bidding process. When does that take place?
Well,
Is that something so then the 3 trustee members, you're confirming, you're selecting them?
well, it's presented to us from our fiscal officer, Mr. Ron Campbell, and as long as the work they're doing takes care of the audit, that we need, and they do a great job. We could look for a different auditor every year, but it makes more sense to have continuity, say no, when they come in, they're more experienced and they know what they're looking for. They're not starting from scratch, so
Yeah.
it makes the process a lot easier.
Continuity on that, Mr. Beamer, do you know how long they've been there?
Probably specifically, I would say it's been a few years or several years, probably.
Where's the company located?
Specifically, somewhere in the tri-state area, Cincinnati, Ohio. I think maybe even in Clermont County. You know, it's an approved list as we've been explaining to you from the state of Ohio. So if they weren't doing a good job.
So the state
they
of
wouldn't-
Ohio
they
does a
wouldn't be
source
on- they
selection on
wouldn't
the
be-
auditors?
They wouldn't be on the list. It's just that simple.
Okay, what office can I check with on that? I never saw it, so I'm surprised.
I refer you back to the auditor's office in the state of Ohio.
Yeah,
Because
or
it,
you-
because it seems that, it seems like it's something that's a request that is to have an independent audit report in lieu of the procedures required at 117.11. So, Baston and Company LLC, that's the,
Well, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but you're welcome to come up and do
Yeah.
a records request, and you can get all the information. You can
Yeah.
call Basson Company.
well, I'm just
yourself.
curious, it's been a question, because, it's
Annually.
then, looking at the, if it's, you're saying it's a selection off the list, and there's a contract, is there a cost for them? Is the state of Ohio cost? Is there cost avoidance? I mean, like I said, I'm sure the answer is
There's
there.
a cost either way. In fact,
Exactly. It's cost either way.
my understanding is the way we're doing it was actually cheaper, plus they would do it every year as opposed to every 2 years, which something we had demanded that transparency to have a more frequent audit.
Okay. Okay. It's, it just, the way that it, the appearance of it is that it's, the firm doesn't have a website or seem to be doing this for any other townships or municipalities, so it's just surprising.
I don't understand. Were you questioning the auditor's advice or what?
Mr.
Questioning
Geist,
the
don't
auditor?
they
Just,
do it
just
for
for the,
private
just for the vendor, just curious about the bidding process for the vendor,
I think
that's all.
Mr. Geist knows how many companies they do it for, Mr. McGraw.
Do you have any other comment on that?
So the biggest thing, I guess, that brings out the question, and that's for everyone's knowledge, is it's the state of Ohio making the statement that the auditor of state did not audit the accompanying financial statements, and accordingly, were unable to express and do not express an opinion on them. And then the independent auditor's report kind of goes on to essentially say that they verified that the numbers and the math adds up, but that they don't look at any internal controls, et cetera. So it's just kind of begs a question there, that's all.
No, I
So I was
do-
just curious
They do
about the
look at,
background.
they do look at some of the internal controls, because I know we've changed some things over the years to be more in compliant.
Well, they make reference to not reviewing the internal controls, but that's all. I was just curious as far as the past performance of that individual company, how long they've been performing the audits. Is it something that we bid out? Is it something that we do for source selection? Is it something that we do for competitive processes? Just competition, iron sharpens iron, that's all.
I mean, that's all fine. If you have specific questions, I would just send an email to Mr. Campbell, any questions you might have, and he'd be more than happy to answer any questions regarding the audit.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the time. I just feel it's in the best interest. I've heard that question quite a bit. And if it's cost avoidance, and I guess my question is, how much does it cost for provided additional transparency and
We're actually spending
accountability?
more because we're doing annual audits versus biannual. So actually, we're not avoiding any costs. We're actually incurring more costs to be more transparent.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it's good practice. And to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues in the last several years that I've been on the board as far as things.
Yeah. Just haven't seen that they have a past performance record of performing that work with any other municipalities, so.
But
Mr. Geist, they do a lot, don't they? I don't know off the top of my head, but they do several companies.
Baston and Company, really, I want to say they do at least 25 municipal corporations annually. It may be as many as 50. They're one of the largest, or do one of the most comprehensive auditing jobs in the state of Ohio. They're actually located here, and the fact that I believe that the state issues a 5-year contract for them, and they're actually approved by the state of Ohio in that. And so the state provides a list to us, and they interview the actual auditing companies. There's a review process, and then the review is then confirmed by the Board of Trustees in that. But really, it's if the board, said that they only wanted the Baston Company, that would not, they wouldn't get the Baston Company to do that.
Right, that'd be a directed sole source.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's trying to get to what the process is there, and you help bring light to say that there's a bidding process the state of Ohio does, and that as that funnels through, that there's a selection process or a confirmation process the board can have.
And there's a maximum number of years that they can do an audit, just so that there's no consideration or there's no appearance that there's any kind of issue with them continuing to do that audit. And this is actually a process that is endorsed by the auditor's office, because they don't have the resources to employ to do the audits for us. And when you get to a township the size of Union Township, with the number of transactions that we have and the interrelated agencies with that, the actual independent auditors have a greater expertise in reviewing that audit than the state auditors do. And the state auditors, the actual review process is exactly the same from the independent auditors as it is from the state of Ohio. They send a team down, and then it's reviewed by the senior auditor from each district in that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I pick up when you're saying that they're limited to their length and term on the contract because they don't want the audit company to be in place for too long. It makes sense. That operates with any good contract, as far as you limit a base contract to 5 years or so, because you just kind of fall into status quo and starting to miss things after that. So that's helpful. Anderson Township they're about comparable in size, right? 50,000 residents.
I'd say
And they have the state come in. So that's just,
And they're just doing it every 2 years then.
just interesting.
No idea what Anderson Township
If
does.
that's the case, it's 2 years probably.
Don't care.
Oh, I was just, my understanding is that it's every year, but it's best practices, right? I mean, you gotta learn from others around you, fail fast, fail hard, learn. That's when I said iron sharpens iron, that's all.
I feel compliant.
And that's why I suggest I would contact Mr. Campbell, because he's very friendly and open to meeting with anybody that has a question like that, and get your questions together, and he is the fiscal officer, so he would be able to answer those questions better.
They just address it to the Board of Trustees. I guess that's the misleading part by the auditor's state.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the time tonight.
Good night.
Thank you. Is there any other person here that wants to make a comment? Okay.
Coming events?